Hello everyone, it's Petko Alexandrov and I continue with the Bitcoin analysis after it reached the first target of the Fibonacci, which was at the 22,542.76, and I had a few entries after that, but it's the end of the year. It's just before the holiday, so it was a little bit harder for me to record every single transaction and to do analysis daily, but I will share with you what I did. And actually, surprisingly, I have my first Bitcoins. Okay, since the beginning, if you're following the course carefully, you know that I was not buying Bitcoins until the moment, okay? And I will tell you what changed in my strategy, how I'm looking at things. It's not just because it went above 20,000. It's a few more reasons behind my investments, and I will tell you in a second what they are. Okay, so what happened after the price broke the 20,000? Very aggressive move up until the 23,770. You can see that reversal candlestick we have over here. It's a sign that this could be a top for the moment, and it was for a while. So if I move the charts a little bit to the right, you will see that the price failed to take that level of 23,770. Then we had that engulfing candlestick, that's what it's called, and that bearish formation allowed me to draw my counter trend line, and a little bit later more aggressive counter trend line right over here, so you can see how it looks. And then here was my first entry, again a failure of the recent low. So that low over here of 22,330 failed to take that low at 22,260. Okay, and then I had the break. So that was the first time I bought a piece of Bitcoin, and again I'm following very strictly my investment system. I bought just another piece of 600 euro and not putting all of the money or something like that into Bitcoin, because I know it's a lot of noise again around Bitcoin because it's above the 20,000. Many people jump just buying it and exchanging a lot of the other cryptos into Bitcoins, but one more time, I don't find that reasonable and I don't find that smart at the moment, because I will tell you something that I've learned from the Forex trading. I have a lot of experience with the Forex trading, and as you may know, in Forex trading, the market sometimes moves a lot from the news. For example, if we are waiting some important news regarding the dollar, I'm right now at a Forex Factor, which is one of the most popular places from where we can see the news. They have economic calendar. Many websites actually have calendar. So for example, when we have something like that, something about the monetary policy statements, or if we are expecting change in the interest rate, right? Usually a volatility is expected. For example, if the Federal Reserve is planning to change the interest rate, that affects usually the dollar a lot. And usually it affects the dollar before the actual news come up. And always with the news, there is a forecast. So it's the previous value, and then we have the forecast, and then the actual value comes up, right? So if we have an expectation or a forecast that there will be a change, the price starts to move, okay, based on the expectation. And usually what happens when the moment comes and actually there is a change, already it's implemented in the price, already the price moved. Okay, so something very similar happens with the cryptos, and that's a good example right now. When we were right here below the 20,000, there was a huge expectation that the price will break the 20,000. We had a few weaknesses, but what I told you in the recent lectures over here is that if the price tries one time, two times, three times, it will break at one moment. Okay, and it will break because of the expectation that this event will happen. And when it breaks, what happens? There are these pending orders here, people waiting for the moment and they buy, which pushes the price higher. But when the price is already above it, there is no more such expectation, okay? It's done. The expectation is over. Of course, this doesn't mean that the price will not continue higher. I'm not saying that. I don't know if it will continue higher or not. I don't try to do such predictions, but quite often what happens is that the price just drops. It might retest the 20,000 and go higher again, or it can even go lower. There is always that possibility. That's why I'm saying keep that in mind. So as I've said, I have bought my first Bitcoin right over here. Let me go back to the chart. I've bought it right over here, but it was just another piece for my portfolio. So if I bring you my sheet, which I shared with you guys, you know what I'm doing. I'm buying right now 600 euro each time for the purpose of these videos. So here are my recent trades. And actually, at that moment, what I did is I bought Bitcoin, and at the same time, I have exchanged the Earn Finance, okay, something I wanted to get rid of because there was no more volatility. I've exchanged it just when it was a little bit of a profit. You can see that 3 euro profit, but I didn't sell it to take profits. What I did, I exchanged it for Bitcoin at that moment, because there is nothing really special about the Earn Finance at the moment, and of course there is with the Bitcoin because it's much more volatile. Okay, and I will tell you a few more reasons why I started buying Bitcoins in a while. Let me just go with the setups that I had in the last days. Okay, so after that break, you can see what happened. The price pushed higher and it reached the high. Actually, on Trading View, here you can see the exact values if I put the mouse on the candlestick. So the high is 24,200. Okay, then what happened? Another lower high, which allowed me to draw a counter trend line. At that moment, I had another entry because I had a failure of the recent low. I took Ethereum as well. And then what happened? The price pushed again up to the maximum so far, 24,300. And then we had that very negative candlestick, which was a sign of weakness, another so-called engulfing pattern. And then I was expecting something exactly like that. The price tries one more time and then it fails lower, dropped down to 21,913, and then it just went sideways, but it allowed me to have one more entry right over here because I have the setup, right? I have aggressive counter trend line and I had a failure of the recent low, so I took that opportunity. It was actually a very nice bullish impulsive break. Okay, you can see it, very nice setup of the system, aggressive counter trend line, failure of the recent low, we're in a strong uptrend, and we have the impulsive break on that hourly chart. Okay, that what happened, the price just went sideways. It pushed yesterday, actually this night, up to 23,710, and now it's showing some more weakness. Okay, so this is where we are right now with the Bitcoin. We'll see how it will go. It's also trying to form one formation, which is very popular with the technical analysis, and it's called head and shoulders. Okay, so we have actually a few of them. One is right over here. If I have to draw it precisely, it should be like that. It should not be going through the candles. Okay, right here. So that's a very popular pattern. We have one shoulder, then we have the head, then we have another shoulder, and we have as well two more right over here. Okay, right over here. So that's one shoulder, the head, and the second shoulder. And what happens usually when the price goes down, it's expected to make a move similar to the height of the head. Okay, here it is, and you can see that it worked perfectly in this case. All right, so that's a reversal pattern right over here. One more time, we have the shoulder, head, shoulder, and then when the price drops, we usually expect that it will make at least as much as the head is, okay, and it did it in this case. And we have one more smaller this morning right over here. Let me do it precisely. Okay, here it is. Let me zoom. So we have one shoulder, head, shoulder, and what happens when it breaks? We usually expect a move that is the same as the head. Okay, so I'm expecting right now the price to drop to 22,500 and retest that level. Okay, but that's just for information where you can pay attention to such patterns. But I don't rely my trading on those things because sometimes they work, sometimes they do not work. Okay, so I'm very strict to the system that I have since the beginning. If you look at the daily chart, I'm still in an uptrend, obviously very strong uptrend after this very bullish days that we had on the 16th and the 17th of December. But as I said, keep in mind when you do your risk management and you decide with how much you want to buy, keep always in mind that there is the possibility that the price will just drop. Okay, always keep it in your mind. I'm not saying it will happen. I don't know if it will happen or not. For the moment, the Bitcoin remains very bullish. We are in an uptrend, and as long as we are in an uptrend, I will take every single opportunity to buy, and I will be strict to the system and the strategy that I'm following and I'm sharing in my courses. Just what happened is I started to buy Bitcoins because one more time, I want to have them in my portfolio because it's a lot of money flowing into the Bitcoin, as I've mentioned already a few times. So if you look, for example, at the current situation, you can see that the Stellar lost a lot of its value together with the Ripple. Okay, so the Ripple is one of the top losers recently. I'm not sure if it's still on the top. Yep, it is. Okay, so Ripple, Stellar, and some of the others like EOS, they are losing a lot, while at the same time the Bitcoin is more often in the top gainers. It's not right now, but since it broke the 20,000, I see it more and more in the top gainers. And if you look at the market right now, okay, most of the assets are losing more just at the current situation at the moment I'm recording that video, but the Bitcoin was positive just a few hours ago while the others were negative. Okay, so it keeps its value. It's a lot of investments flowing into the Bitcoin right now, and there is one huge reason as well. This is because the interest rates for deposits in banks are very low for the current moment in December 2020. So the investors, they're looking for opportunities where they can have more profits instead of keeping their money in the banks with such low interest rates. So in the long term, I think the Bitcoin will be a desirable asset for the investors until the banks start to increase the interest rates for the deposits. If they do, that might affect negative on the Bitcoin as well. The dollar is weak after Trump lost the elections, and I think as well a lot of the investors prefer to keep their money in dollars and they prefer to keep them in Bitcoins. That's one of the reasons we have that break as well. Okay, it's a lot of things, it's not just one reason there, but one more time, when there is an expectation, this is the strongest thing that drives an asset upwards. And if we add the low interest rates in the banks and as well the weak dollar, I think these are all reasons why the Bitcoin is so strong at the moment. However, be careful when purchasing. I would always suggest you to diversify your portfolio with many assets. So this way you're not risking it all on one asset. For example, if you were buying only Ripple, you see that you would have a huge loss, right? It's very negative. If you look at it on the yearly chart, it reached 150. This Bulgarian left, it's 52, which means it lost 2/3 of its value. Okay, so that's the current situation, guys, with the Bitcoin. Very interesting what will happen. Is it going to break above? Is is it going to retest the 20,000, or is it going to fall even below? I don't know, we'll see. I'm again very strict to the system, just I added a few pieces of Bitcoin into my portfolio for the reasons I have mentioned to you. Okay, thanks for watching, we'll see you in the next video, take care and happy holidays, we're just ahead to the new year. Take care, bye bye.